Research shows that emotional intelligence, not IQ, accounts for 90% of what separates top performers from everyone else. So what does it actually look like in the mind of someone who has it? Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is the ability to recognize, understand, and regulate both your own emotions and the emotions of those around you. Sounds simple, but in practice, it's one of the hardest psychological skills a person can develop. In this video, we're going through 7 defining psychological traits of people with high EQ, and by the end, you might just recognize yourself in a few of them. When criticized, provoked, or dropped into a high-pressure situation, the natural reflex for most people is to fire back immediately. But people with high EQ do the opposite. They pause. Not because they're weak, but because they understand that the first emotion they feel isn't necessarily the truth. It's just a signal. Psychologically, that brief pause, even just a few seconds, allows the prefrontal cortex to take over from the amygdala's fight-or-flight response. That's the difference between reacting and responding. When someone does something confusing or hurtful, most people's first thought is, "Why would they do that?" followed immediately by a verdict. People with high EQ ask a different question. What must they have been going through to make them act that way? This isn't naivety, this is intentional curiosity. They understand that human behavior always has a root cause, and understanding that cause helps them respond wisely rather than just quickly. This is one of the subtlest but most powerful signs on this list. People with high EQ don't live for likes, compliments, or the fear of judgment. They operate from a strong internal value system, one that doesn't shift based on what the crowd thinks that day. That doesn't mean they don't care about others. In fact, they care deeply, but their self-worth is not on loan from other people's opinions. Most people listen to reply. People with high EQ listen to understand. They're not just processing your words, they're tuned in to your tone, your body language, and most importantly, what you're not saying. They're the ones who notice when someone says, "I'm fine," and can tell that they're not. This kind of listening, what psychologists call active listening, isn't a natural gift. It's built through patience and a genuine interest in the person in front of you. This is probably the most misunderstood point on this list. People with high EQ don't blame circumstances or other people for how they feel. They don't say, "He made me angry." They say, "I felt angry when that happened." That small shift in language reflects a massive shift in mindset. My emotions are mine, and I am responsible for them. It's not about suppressing feelings, it's about owning them, because you can only manage what you take responsibility for. Ambiguity makes most people anxious. People with high EQ can sit with it. They don't need instant answers. They don't need everything to be perfectly clear before they move forward. They've accepted that life is inherently complex, and that acceptance actually frees them from a tremendous amount of unnecessary anxiety. In psychology, this capacity is called tolerance for ambiguity, and it consistently shows up as a marker of emotional maturity.
Finally, and this might be the most underrated sign of all, people with high EQ know when to let go. A pointless argument, a draining relationship, an emotion that's pulling them under. They don't stay out of ego or stubbornness. They understand which battles are worth fighting and which ones are just burning energy they'll never get back. That's not giving up, that's strategic wisdom. If this video is resonating with you, hit subscribe so you never miss content like this, and drop a comment below. Which of these 7 signs do you feel is your strongest right now? I read every single one. Emotional intelligence is not something you either have or you don't. It's a muscle, and like every muscle, it grows when you train it consistently. Start with the smallest possible thing. Pause for 1 second before you react. Just 1 second. Everything else begins to shift from there. If you want to go deeper into the psychology of human behavior, I've got a video linked right here that I think you'll love. See you in the next one.